Hello, bastard viewers and Path of Exile players alike. I'm your professional, miserable host Winkers here to preach the good news. We finally got the Manifesto that will restore some hope for the 3.20 expansion. That's right, Archnemesis is being reined in again, but for the first time, possibly ever, at least as far as I'm concerned, I'm very confident about it. Let's go over why. The first thing I want to say is, Grinding Gear Games kind of gives their reasoning behind all of this, and the reasoning is good. Talking about how it's overly complex. It was meant to have clearer mod names, but you couldn't actually tell what they did, which was kind of a mistake. They're going to be more descriptive of what they actually do, and the mods themselves are going to be much, much simpler. Let's start off with probably the most important one. Mods do one specific thing. The example they use here is Magma Barrier. Now, when you think of Magma Barrier doing only one thing, you're probably like, okay, so all of that stuff where it converts fire and has fire resistance and all this other crazy stuff that you can't tell under the hood, that's gone, and now it's just the original Magma Barrier effect. No, actually, that's not what's happening. It's going to be just the damage absorption of Magma Barrier. The Volatiles is going to be an entirely separate effect. So in order to have just that base Magma Barrier effect that we have now, you're going to have to roll two distinct mods on the same monster, and neither of them are going to come with the extra fire damage or extra fire resistance or physical damage reduction or whatever. Continuing from there, the mods are going to have very simple names. Again, they have examples here where Incendiary was 6 properties, terrible, admittedly. Now it'll have Ignites, Fire and Ignite Resistance, and Applies Random Mark, Extra Crits, Accurate. Which, honestly, very similar to what we had in the old system, except now you also have the newer interesting mods, like Magma Barrier, like Spawning Volatiles, Mana Siphoner. Those are going to be there, but as like an individual mod that doesn't apply any other effects. And that's a huge deal, because those are going to be cool. They have the potential to be scary still, but how often they're going to be scary, that's going to be another story. You're going to be able to play through your maps, and you'll have what do they call it in here? The wake up moment, but not all the time, which was kind of the issue with old Archnemesis, is you would just, once a map, it seems like, run into an enemy, especially if you're running Essence. Once a map, you would run into an enemy that just like made most of the bosses in the game look like a joke. Additionally, they've solved the rewards situation in kind of a unique way. I want to say this might have been the best way to do it. Specifically, there's now a reward mod, or rather there are hidden reward mods that are attached to mobs. And what these mods do is they take kind of the effects that we had before and they apply it to an enemy independent of their actual Archnemesis mods. And this is really important because when that happens, more or less, you don't know what it is. So if you are magic finding all the time, you're going to get that occasional huge pop. If you're not magic finding all the time, there is no onus to go and swap out and immediately get that, perfect magic find color setup to maximize the gain. And that when you have something like that, the big issue is that you can do it, so you're supposed to do it. Now you can't do it, so you don't have to do it. And that's kind of how it works. Honestly, probably sounds insane to a lot of people. I think if you've played the game for a little while, you understand a little better what I'm getting at. It's a bonus you can get, but it's not a bonus you can determine. And that makes it okay, at least in theory. I suppose when we play, we could find something else goes wrong. They outline some other benefits of the changes, specifically things like spawning volatiles or ground effects on death are going to be rarer because the mod pool is that much bigger. Think of how they nerf crafting indirectly sometimes, where the mod pool becomes bigger and then you can't get the mods that you want. I think there was some talk about that in the last manifesto, which I didn't cover because honestly, not the most exciting manifesto. There were some changes and slightly easier way to get ailment resistance if you needed it, which I actually liked. I don't think that the extra mods on jewels are going to be that bad. I guess it depends on how common they are, right? Either way, I had to make a video about this one because this is some of the best news, most exciting news, most encouraging news I've seen to date. We are much, much better now, as of this moment, probably by a factor of 100 as far as 3.20 was concerned. Very high odds that the league is going to feel good, even if it's a boring league, just because general play is going to feel so much better. And I think everyone should know that and be excited for it.